to Sarah's Stampin' Retreat. Today I'm creating 5 cards using 5 different sketches. If you've never seen a sketch before, it's like a template or a layout for how to design a card. And the reason I wanted to do this today was because I think they're useful in loads of situations. They're really useful if you've just started card making and you're not sure what kind of layouts you want to use, or you're new to design your own cards. It's a really nice way of using your products with someone else's layout, so you've kind of designed the card yourself, but it kind of just helps you along the line. It's also really nice if you're an experienced crafter and you're just stuck for an idea. You can go to a sketch and think, oh yeah, I can use that layout, and then you can tweak it, and the more experienced you are, probably the more you'll change it a little bit to suit what you want. And then the other thing that's really nice about sketches is they create a bit of a sense of community. So there's quite a few blogs out there. You'll see that actually all these sketches that I'm using today are from Freshly Made Sketches. I have nothing to do with Freshly Made Sketches, but it's a site that I really like. I've entered a few of their challenges before, and every week they put out a new sketch and they do a challenge, so everyone can enter with their version of the sketch with whatever products they want to use. And it's just a really nice way of being part of a crafting community, of seeing what other people have done with the same sketch, because you'll probably get, I don't know, 20, 30, 50 even different people making different cards with the same sketch. It's really nice to see the variety of ideas that people have come up with. So I'll link to Freshly Made Sketches in the description. I'll also link to my Pinterest board that has a load of sketches on it. I've got a sketches board, but there are loads and loads of different sites out there with sketches on, so you can have a little Google and find some that you like. So to create my cards today, I'm going to use the same products on each of the cards. So it's all part of the Fine Art Floral suite. So I'm going to be using these gorgeous papers. This one's actually my favourite. So there's florals on one side of all of these. And then there's kind of paint textures on the other side. So you get two of each of these sheets in the pack. So you get 12 sheets in total. But I've cut up all of the other set of sheets. And then that coordinates with this art gallery stamp set and the coordinating dies. You can see sometimes when I've cut out some of the dies and I don't want to use them just yet, I just store them in the packaging so I can use them the next time. This was just from a different day where I thought I was going to use this colour, and it turned out when I'd made the card it looked better in a different colour, so I just stored that for next time I need to use it. So these are the floral gallery dies, and so these cut out the stamps, so this and this. You've got this for this one, you've got just want to say, which goes with all of these sentiments, and then you've got these kind of postage stamp type cuts to cut out your sentiments. So I'm going to be using a lot of the papers in today's video, partly because it does a lot of the work for you, because it brings a lot of pattern and colour to the design. I just wanted to highlight as well that all of the Stampin' Up Designer Series papers, which is what they call pattern papers, have all of the colours that are used in the pattern papers on the back. So that's another really good trick for if you're trying to pull a card together. If you use the colours from the pattern paper as the background and things like that, then it automatically all comes together. So I'm going to start off with this sketch here, and as you can see it's a nice simple sketch. I'm going to make a nice simple card. So I'm making quite a large card for this one. This one is a 5 by 7 inch bumblebee card blank, so that's 10 inches by 7 inches scored and folded in half. And then this is 1/4 of an inch smaller, so this is 6 3/4 inches by 4 3/4 inches. And I had a look at the colour coding for these papers, and look, you can see this is the bumblebee here, and this is the pretty peacock here. So I've used colours that are in these papers to decide what I want in my background. So from the paper, I have just cut, this is a 4 inch by 5 1/4 inch piece of paper that I've cut at 1 3/4. I've cut down into 1 3/4 inches. So that's 1 3/4 inches by 4 inches on each of those. I'm just going to lay those out on my card. And then I'm going to stamp my sentiment on here. So I'm going to use the Pretty Peacock ink to go with my card. And then I'm going to use the Happy Birthday stamp from the stamp set. And then I'm just going to stamp that on there. And then I'm going to take the larger of the two sentiment dies, and I'm just going to go cut that out. So then I've got that cute sentiment there now. So now all I need to do is glue everything together. And I love my Tombow glue. I think we can just glue those on there, but step it up a little bit. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back. So I've got a few kind of like half-used packs here that I want to finish off. So I'm just going to kind of use some of this outside area that's kind of technically the waste, but it's never a waste in my craft room. I say my craft room, I don't actually have a craft room. I'm saying that very metaphorically. Then I've got my panels on, and I'm just going to add some more dimensionals to the back of my sentiment. So if I bring my sketch back in, you can see how I've used the shape of the card, the 3 panels, and then I've just added my own sentiment, and I've made a really pretty easy card just using that as my sketch. So then I'm going to do this one next. And for this one, I've decided to make another 5 by 7 card. And again, I've gone with colours that are in the papers. So I've gone for the very vanilla, because this paper that I decided to use has got kind of a very vanilla background. I've used the Night of Navy, because you can see there's small bits of Night of Navy in this paper. So I wanted to kind of bring that out a bit. So I'll actually keep this in for reference so that you can see what I'm doing. So I've cut. This is obviously backwards the way you can see it. Maybe you can see it through there. But just want to say die that I showed you from the die set from Night of Navy cardstock. And when I'd finished die cutting it, I just picked it up using this. It's kind of really slightly tacky and it's masking sheet. But it's just really nice to kind of pick it up, keep it all in line so that I've got all the spacing right. And then I can just add glue to the back and glue it onto here, because this is going to be my sentiment panel. So this is just a piece of very vanilla cardstock that I have cut out with our stitch rectangles that I use all the time. So excuse them being very messy. So you can see you get a variety of sizes of rectangles, and I've just cut this one out using my die cutting machine. And so now what I'm going to do is just pop a bit of glue onto the back of these pieces. And this is always when I think, why didn't I use adhesive sheet for this? Because if you just pop some adhesive sheet on the back of your card before you die cut it, then you can save all the hassle of the glue, and you can just peel it off like a sticker. Which would have been very nice, but I forgot to do it, so glue it is. To be fair, the Tombow does make it easy to kind of do nice fine glue. So then you can see through it slightly on here, so I'm just going to centre that as much as I can. So then I'm just going to press that down And the glue will become more tacky than this sheet, so this sheet will just peel off nicely. So this is just a piece of Night of Navy cardstock that I've cut down so that it fits. It's 1/4 of an inch bigger than this stitched rectangle. So that will go like that. Then I'm just going to heat emboss in white the same Happy Birthday sentiment we used before. So I've got some Night of Navy cardstock, and I'm just going to take the same Happy Birthday sentiment. I'm going to use my Versamark ink just to pop that on there. And then I'm just going to pour on some of my white embossing powder. And then this is my heat tool. It's just a tool, it's got 2 settings, so I always use setting 2 for melting the embossing powder, and it gets really hot out this end, and we can just heat up the embossing powder and it will give us a nice kind of glossy finish. Then I'm going to use the same dye as I used last time just to cut this out. And then because this is like a bit of a bright white and I want it to blend with this, I'm going to take my ivory Stampin' Blend marker and I'm just going to colour over the top of the white. And it just takes it more to a cream level, like an ivory level, rather than being bright white. So let's glue this together. And you can see I'm using this layout, so I'm going to pop this piece of Night of Navy cardstock. This is 1/2 inch wide and it's 5 inches long, so it just fits across the card. So I'm going to pop that up on some dimensionals. And I'm just going to use my scissors just to chop off a bit of this grey stuff here. And you can see that writing goes nicely with the cream background now, as opposed to being bright white. So then I've got a pretty card using that design. So while we're on this sheet, let's use this one. So for this one, I'm going to use this pretty piece of paper. And then this flower has 2 stages to it, so it's got this one and this one, so that you've got like a base and then some extra detail. And you obviously don't have to use both, you could just use this one if you just want flat colour. And I'm just going to put this on here. I'm going to use this Happy Birthday again in a minute, so I'm just putting it on the back of here just because I'm being lazy really. But I don't need it in a certain place or anything, so it doesn't really matter. I don't need to be able to see through it. So I'm just going to stamp this off. I can stamp this on the back of here. Because I want to use the 2nd generation stamp for this. So you can see this was my original, so it's much darker, and then when I stamped it the 2nd time I got a much lighter shade, and that's because I just want to use the one colour of ink on here. So I'm actually using Poppy Parade ink, but then I'm going to use 1st generation ink, and then I'm going to place this over here, and I'm just lining this up with the flower below, and then I'm going to print that, and you can see I've got the lighter shade underneath and the darker shade on the top, and it creates a really pretty flower. And then I'm going to do some white heat embossing on this red cardstock this time. Use the same Happy Birthday sentiment. As you saw, there's a variety of sentiments in the pack, but I tend to use birthdays most, so that's what I make the most of. So I'm just going to pop that on there, and then I'm going to pour my white powder on, so I'm just using the white powder again. Actually, if you want any of our embossing powders and you just want one colour, then now's a really good time to get it, because once the new catalogue goes live on the 4th of May, then the new catalogue will be selling groups of colours, so you'll be able to get black, white and clear in a pack, and you'll be able to get silver, gold and copper in a pack. But you won't be able to buy them individually anymore, so if you do want just one individual colour, then now's the time to get it. So again, I'm going to cut this out with the exact same die again. And the other thing I'm going to do at the same time is just to cut this out with this die. Then I've got a basic white card blank, and I intentionally used one that's got a little mark on it because I'm going to cover it with this. So if you've got any card that just has a bit of a mark on or something, don't throw it away, use it for something like this. Look, you'll never tell that that's got a mark on. So I'm just going to glue that onto the front, and all this paper is absolutely gorgeous. All from that same pack, and it's actually one of my favourite packs. So then I've pulled these colours from the paper, so that's the Mossy Meadow, the Bumblebee and the Poppy Parade, and I'm just going to glue those strips just like this across the card. So I'm going to put on the yellow one next. And the red one here. I can just grab my scissors. I can trim them off behind here. And then I'm just going to pop some dimensionals on the back of our flower. And then I'm just going to snip off some of these side bits, and I'm going to put that behind my sentiment. And can you see how, because we've used the colours from the print, then all the colours kind of go together really nicely. So you can see that one is that one. So let's go with this one next. So for this one I've got an A6 card blank. So that measures 5 7/8 by 8 1/4, scored and folded in half, and that is in basic grey cardstock. And then I've got a piece of this gorgeous paper from the pack, this one's my favourite, that measures the same width, so 4 1/8 inch across by 5 inches down. I'm just going to pop this little strip of Pretty Peacock behind it, again taking the colours from the print. And that's the great thing about Stampin' Up, you always use the colours from the cardstock and the inks and everything else. They all coordinate and they all pull through into the papers as well. So now I've got that nice little stripe across the bottom there, and then I'm going to put that onto the front of my card, and you can see this is going to be a super simple card. Again, it's the beauty of having really gorgeous papers that are just kind of centre stage. So you can see now we've done this bit, the background, and we just need this sentiment panel there. So I'm being very boring with my sentiments today and doing exactly the same with all of them. It just kind of shows how many different things you can do with like the same tools, same sentiments. So again, I'm just going to use my white embossing powder. I'm going to use some of the Pretty Peacock paper. So then I'm just going to pop some dimensionals onto the back of here. I'm just going to put it here, just like on the sketch. So now you can see we've got this from here. And I think that's really nice for men or women. It's not overtly manly, it's not overtly feminine. Then for my final card, I'm going to use this sketch. Then I want a flower to go in this square in the centre. So I'm just going to stamp and die cut the flower. So I'm going to use the same technique as I used with the red flower. I'm going to use my bumblebee ink, and I'm just going to stamp it once on the back, and then I'm going to stamp it properly on the front, so that then I've got that second generation stamping. You'll probably see actually here, it's a good thing to note, that I've got some printing on there, and that is because our cardstock is really awesome for printing on. So I can just stick this through my ordinary printer at home. It's only really, so the Whisper White and the Very Vanilla, obviously there are printers that take the other the thicker cards, but my printer isn't anything special, it only takes the thinner card, but it means that I can print my own sentiments and stuff like that, and it's just really nice quality cardstock to print on too. So this is just our ordinary basic white. The thick one won't go through my printer. There will be some printers that it goes through, so check your printer. You might be lucky enough to have one that will take all the colours of card, and then you've got loads of possibilities, but mine just takes this card. And the reason this is really nice to print on is that it's got it's like super smooth on the surface, so it doesn't absorb loads of ink. It kind of sits close to the surface, so you get nice vibrant colours. So then I've got my pretty peacock ink, and I've got the leaf. I'm just going to stamp that, and then I'm just going to cut out the flower and the leaf with the coordinating dies. Then there's my flower, and to create this layout I've got a pretty peacock 5x5 inch card blank, and then I've cut a square that is 4.5 inches square in half from diagonal to diagonal. That then fits nicely on there. And this square is 3.5 inches square, and this square is 3.25 inches square. And this paper is just the paper from the pack, so it's the paint side. So you can see this was the blue floral on the other side. So I'm just using that like that. Then this will go on there as my focal point, and then I just need a sentiment. So then I'm just going to do the same as we did on the first card, and I'm going to take my pretty peacock ink and the happy birthday sentiment, and I'm just going to stamp it on here, and then I'm going to go and cut it out with the same die I've been using through the whole thing. Then I'm just going to glue it together. So you can see I'm just using the same template as there. So I've got my pretty peacock card blank. Just going to glue on my triangles. You see I've not properly pushed that down yet, just because I want a little bit of wiggle room, and I've put this one down just to make sure that they're all spaced nicely. So I'm happy with that now, so I'm just pushing it down. I think it's quite nice as well, like obviously this is from the same paper, but because this bit's a bit darker and this bit's a bit lighter, it kind of like lifts the centre a little bit. So then I'll just put some dimensionals on the back of here. I just want to position this nicely. And then I've just put some dimensionals on the leaves as well. So then I can just position that under there. And then I'm just going to pop that across there. So I'm just putting dimensionals at this end where it's going to be stuck to here. And then I'm going to put a bit of glue at this end, because that end's going to be stuck to the leaves, which have already got dimensionals behind them. And then I think I want dimensionals behind this piece as well. So there we go, there's our final card made using this sketch. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video and seen how we can use sketches to create a lot of different cards with the same products. If you did, I'd really appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also click subscribe to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will notify you when I've got new videos available. All of the products that we've used today are linked in the description below, and there's also a host code there. If you pop my host code into your basket before you check out, then I'll send you a free gift after the end of the month. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.